As we start working more and more on modeling and getting more complicated inside 3ds Max, it'll help when we go into the modifier panel to start using what's called modifier sets. I'm going to come over here, and in the modifier list you have this little row, right, where you could show end results, make unique, remove if you want to remove a modifier, and then there's this guy, configure modifier sets. So if I click on that, I can turn that off, which is probably the default you see. So if I come over here, let's go ahead and, just so that everything's not grayed out, I'm going to go ahead and just make a box. Let's do keyboard entry, we'll enter value 100, oops. Length 100, width 100, height 100, and just hit create. Now I'll come over here. There we go. So now I have a box. So a lot of times there's modifiers you're going to use a lot, and so instead of constantly having to click and drag and find them, it's easier to turn on modifier sets. So I'm going to go ahead and go configure modifier sets and say show buttons. So now when I look at, you can see all these modifiers. These are ones that I find that I have to use a lot. In the coming weeks, if we haven't already by the time you're watching this, you'll see that there's a number of different modifiers I have up here dealing with UV unwrapping. There's another one, symmetry, which is one that we started utilizing early on. Edit poly is right here. And then currently I have bevel here, freeform deformation, and shell. All right, so the shell one tends to change out a lot depending on my tutorials at what time, whenever I was doing it. But the other ones I specifically changed. So setting yours up so that you have the same ones I do would be really useful for you. I'll show you how to do that. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to click configure modifier sets, and then I'm just going to click on the very first button here, which is configure modifier sets. See, that's all popped up here. And so now I have all these, right? They're all kind of set up. And if I click on one, like I don't want to have bevel here anymore. I want to replace it. So I clicked on bevel, and now over here in the list, I look for the one I want. And so in this case, what I want is a FFD 2x2x2, right? That stands for freeform deformation. I'm just going to double click, and then you see that changes it. So then down here you have FFD 4x4, and then I have a shell, right? So I could probably find something that's going to be more useful to me than shell. That would probably be, let's take a quick look here. One that I find can be useful if I type in, I'm just hitting N on the keyboard because I want to find this modifier called normal. That one will occasionally become helpful to me, and you'll find out why later. Let's go ahead and we'll just double click to put that one in there. So now I have 8 buttons. I can change that. I can increase that number to 9, 10, 12, however many. I could have less if I wanted. I could even save these, right? If I click save, well, I just do Ben set or Ben default, and then just hit save. And so that's going to save that to a folder in 3ds Max for me. So now if I click OK, now it has my updated buttons there, right? And so it's just showing buttons. And then you just type in the name for the one that you want inside there in order to set it. Right? And so that's setting up modifier sets in 3ds Max.